Try calling. No. Oh, there he is.
David.
There he is. Just waiting for the response here. Hey!
What does it do?
What's up?
Oh, shoot. Hold on 1 second. Oh, he is getting. His dog is making love
What's
to him
up,
right
man?
now.
What's going on, bud?
We can't hear you.
How you doing?
Oh wait, there we go.
Can you not hear me?
Oh,
Hold on 1 second.
Okay.
Can you guys hear David?
nope.
Can y'all hear me? Hello?
Let's see.
Yep, it's on delay
1 second.
over there. So hey, I'm gonna try calling you from my phone right now. Are you on your cell phone right now?
Yeah, I am.
Okay.
What am I doing that?
I don't know. Maybe it's on the recording. I can turn that off right now.
Don't worry about returning the recording on. Look, can you record it on there?
Yeah, I can do that.
Actually, you know what? We don't know if that's the
Let's
issue.
just
So call him on. David, I'm going to call you. I'm going to call you on my phone, okay? Just so we can hear you too. We had to do this with Esteban the other day. Let's see.
We're trying to record it. Franco.
Could be possible, but we'll wait on that. Hang tight with us, fellas.
You getting a phone call?
Yep, here we go.
Nope, it's gonna cut out. Yo. Okay, hey, do you have another phone with you?
No, I don't.
Okay.
Actually, you know what? Leave the phone call on, and then if you want to go back to the IG or to the Instagram, see if that helps.
Okay, we'll just try that.
You want me to just try recording from here? Oh, this doesn't have it.
Okay, there we go.
Hello?
Yeah, there we go. All right, we're live. Man, just glad to do this again with you. Last time we didn't get a chance to talk more than 30 minutes because we thought that was the limit, but we discovered that we can talk for a lot longer. And a guy like you, people have a lot of questions, so I just want to let everybody know that I would tune in right now, and definitely this is a chance to ask the King David Vega how he does his black and gray. So before we get into the interview, tell me about how you and the family are doing. What's the Vega household doing during this quarantine?
Oh man, they're being crazy right now. It's the full household, so the two boys just driving everybody crazy, driving themselves crazy.
So how many kids do you have, and how old are these little munchkins?
3 boys, 10, 7, and 3.
10, 7, and 3? Man.
Yeah.
Hellraiser.
How was your
This big old thing right here.
How was your Easter? Yeah, that's a cool looking dog. Did you guys do some Easter egg hunting in the backyard?
Yeah, we did. Love it.
That is good stuff, man. Well, part of the reason why we're doing these quarantine conversations is we want to introduce the tattoo world to some of our favorite artists that we love hanging out with. We're fortunate to be friends with you, and we've gotten a chance to travel, the world together. We went to China. That was a dope trip, man. Going to China with Cartoon and Jack Rudy, man. Tell me about that experience. Here you are, this dope-ass black and gray artist that Cartoon and Jack are looking up to. I could actually say that. Like, these dudes have told me they jock your work. So how did it feel for you to go to China with Jack Rudy, Cartoon, the whole team? How was that for you?
Oh man, it was surreal. It was a crazy group of guys. Yeah, I've been looking forward to all those guys for so long, like Steve Soto, Jack Rudy, and Cartoon, and just to be able to hang out with them and meet them and get to know them as actual people instead of just idols of mine was amazing.
Man, we got intimate, man. We had some dinners at some crazy restaurants. We went to the Great Wall of China.
How about that tattoo session with Steve Soto, the Bruce Lee?
Oh, yeah,
till the next morning.
That was a great trip. Shout out to our brother Steve Soto. Man, that was a good time, man. Well, let's talk a little bit about you. How long have you been tattooing for? How long has it been since you've been tattooing?
been tattooing about 14 years.
Okay. And
So I started out just doing it for fun. It wasn't a serious thing that I wanted to do. I tried to make some extra money on the side. And I think I took it serious maybe about 5 years ago. And that's when I started seeing the transition from, decent work to the good work.
yeah, is it okay if I talk about your superpower for a couple minutes?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So a lot of people don't know this, but there's a reason why David does like the silky smooth black and gray tattoos that so many of us struggle with doing, right? Like here you are doing the type of work, you have a bunch of tattoo artists that look up to you, but they still can't do what you do. I'm fortunate to know the secret because you told me. And so hopefully you don't mind me sharing it with the world. But this secret is such a secret that once you know about it, it's still almost impossible to do. And that's called patience. David Vega is one of the most patient tattoo artists that I've ever had the pleasure to see tattooing. The way that you attack your tattoos, man, like it's been said that when you're fucking done tattooing, when that machine gets put down, there's really nothing else you can do to that tattoo. So when I used to do a little bit more seminars, I would always do this technique where I would tell everyone, "Why are you guys here?" And the obvious answer was everybody wanted to get better at realism. And so I said, but I don't understand why you guys are here. Like, I can prove to you guys, all of you, I can prove to you right now that you guys are all better than how you walked into this room. So, of course, they're all ears. They want to know what my secret is. And I say, okay, look, guys, check out your last tattoo that you guys have done. And I want you guys to pretend that someone's holding a gun to your head and you got 1 more hour to put more detail into that tattoo. And I want you guys to tell me if that was to happen, would it look better? And of course they're like, yeah. And then I say, well, why the fuck aren't you doing it? And the reason why I say that parable is because you're one of the few people that actually, like if a dude held a gun to your fucking head, David, after your tattoos were done, there's nothing else you can do to this tattoo. Tell us about your why. Why is that? How do you cultivate and put into practice so much patience?
I don't know. I kind of just force myself to do it. Like it's do I feel like if somebody were to put a gun to my head and tell me to do everything you can, it would feel like a normal day of tattooing for me.
Yeah. So you put
I feel like that anyways. I feel like I have to put a gun to my head to want to put 100% into a piece.
Okay, so let's talk about this then. So, with patience being the leader of how any of us can do a really good tattoo, you mix that with talent. What was it? You said you were tattooing for 14 years, but it almost seemed like you just popped up out of nowhere like around 4, 5, 6 years ago. So what changed in your life from you doing like street style tattoos and you being kind of this dope dude that we know you to be, but like you weren't doing the work you're doing now? Like what happened in your life to make that change?
I think it's just kind of what you surround yourself with, what you want out of life. Before it was just, living a lifestyle or whatever, making money. I was never in it or out of it. I was kind of, in between. And I made a decision to just sacrifice everything and put 100% into the craft.
Okay.
It just shows, yeah, you're right. Like, a lot of people will ask, what's the secret? There's no secret. Everybody can tattoo, probably twice as good as they're tattooing right now, even if they feel like they're at their best.
Yeah, I agree with that, man. Like, okay, so how many years were you tattooing before there's a lot of people watching right now that want to tattoo just like you. And you know what? I think that you and I could agree that there are people that are listening right now that really could tattoo just like you if they were to put this stuff into practice over the next couple years of their lives. How many years were you tattooing before you stepped up to the next level?
I was tattooing for about 11 years, and then it took me about another year after that to start to get the hang of it.
Okay. Yeah. So you've just been on a different level for quite a while now. What like I said, I've seen you tattoo before, and I want to kind of dive a little deeper into your process because I know that a lot of people you know, like I told you last time in the interview, is I like sharing your personality with people because a lot of people don't know who David Vega is, right? They see your work and they love your work, but like, you know, to me, you're one of the most humble badasses there is. To me, you're a humble guy. You're a nice guy. You're a normal, down to earth guy. And so I like sharing your personality with the world, right? And I've heard a lot of people say, man, I met David at a convention. And it's funny because before they talk about your work, they're like, man, he was such a nice. Can you hear me? Oh, there you go. Hey, it's sunny over there at least. But a lot of.
Oh man, it's nice out here.
Yeah. What's up, little man?
I have these to keep me busy.
Yeah, that's a good thing, man. David Vega, the family man. See, he's not just doing badass tattoos. He's holding down the dogs and his kids.
Yep.
So just to everybody at home, get those questions ready. We've got a little Q&A session here going on right now. We've got a couple people asking David, what do you run your machines at? Like with the Bishop Wand shader, what are you running at voltage and what are your needle groupings that you use?
I run it at anywhere from 8.5 to 9 volts, and I'm using 7, 13, and 23 curve mag buck pins.
Okay.
I will use a one-liner and a three-liner for small details, maybe like detail in the nose or eyelashes or some hairs or stuff.
Okay.
And then for the white, I'll use a 7 and maybe a 3 or a 7-liner.
Let's talk about the white. Like your approach to white is really awesome. Like a lot, I've seen I got taught how to airbrush by one of my good friends, Noah, and I used to do these what I thought was really nice black and gray airbrushings, but I would always fuck it up by using too much white, and I would use it too harshly, right? And so I would like to say that myself and even Chuy Quintanada, we were some of the first people really doing a lot of white and black and gray tattooing. People used to trip out on it, really. Like back in the days, we're talking like 15, 18, 20 years ago, even more than that. And I remember thanking Noah so much because he would always teach me that less is more. And so when I look at your black and gray, your use of white is perfect. Like it's very gradiated. It's not too harsh. What are some of the techniques you can help some of these people out there that are doing really nice black and gray, but they're completely messing up their black and gray by overuse of white?
Sorry, let me put this point down real quick. All right. Okay, you're gonna probably have to repeat half of that question.
Okay, no worries, man. So this is a big question because a lot of people that do really good black and gray tattooing, they mess it up by putting too much white. They don't use white properly. There's a proper way to use white, and it's something that I've always tried to do myself. I've always treated white like it's black and gray. Like I would always blend it, make it smooth. The only time I wanted to really see it pop is maybe in a pupil. Tell us about your approach to white, your theory, what you can say to these people to not mess up their pieces with white.
So yeah, I'll focus more on trying to keep the white on the same areas like you said, the pupils, and I will dilute the white about 50%, water and white, and just kind of slowly bring some areas out. Like if it's real light on one side of the face, I'll try to kind of treat it like a light gray tone instead of white itself.
Do you work your whitewash into the black and gray? And if so, like
No.
Okay.
I try not to touch the white on any of the black and gray because
Okay.
it can muddy it up. It ends up looking like partial black and gray and partial
gray work.
Gray work, yeah.
Yeah. And guys like you and I, we don't want to cross that border. We want to stick to black and gray.
Exactly. Yeah.
So let's talk about Empire. You're sponsored by Empire, Colt's a great guy, man. He's a nice guy. You know, I own Nocturnal with Jack Rudy, right? But I'm not shy to give people props, and I want to give a little props and shout out to your sponsors. So let's talk about Empire. How long you've been using the ink for, and what do you like about it?
I've been using Empire for about, I'd say, 3 years, and it's just got a real nice consistency. It always goes in smooth. It has like a silver almost tone to it, which that I really like. I think my favorite part is even the solid black is just as smooth as the light grays.
Yeah. Well, that's good, man. Well, shout out to your sponsors, man, and
Thank you.
definitely want to shine
Colt's a
some
good
lights
guy.
on. We like Colt, man. Like people always say, like,
Yeah.
you know, like how do I handle the competition, man? You know what? This is an example of how I handle the competition. I don't look at people as competition. I look at people genuinely for who they are as a person, and if I like them, I like what they're doing. Period. Doesn't matter if it's another machine company or an ink company. So I just wanted to make sure that we shout him out. Colt's a cool, humble dude. So that's good stuff. And let's get some questions going on over here. James, what do you got in your arsenal there? Questions.
Let me see. So, do you do a lot of traveling? Like, where did you have on plan? Now we know you had your surgery that was going on. What are your plans for travel coming up? Hopefully, once we get off of this lockdown. Do you have any plans set for this year?
But when I travel, I like to do some pretty big areas. You know, like we did China. You guys invited me to China. I think the first time I ever left the U.S. was actually India.
Ah, Samir.
Yeah.
Shout
Shout out Samir Paraganda, India, Lokesh.
Yeah.
Brothers Lokesh and Samir.
Yeah,
What-
that was a fun trip also.
Yeah, that one, man, that tattoo culture out there is absolutely amazing. I've never gone to a foreign country and have felt so welcomed. And those guys do an amazing job with the event, and just the people out there are so respectful. Like, it was such a mind-blowing experience.
Yeah.
Nah, man.
Yeah,
Man.
there's some big people like royalty out there in India.
They're cool out there. What are some of the places you haven't traveled to yet that you want to go to? Have you been to London or Italy or?
I haven't been to London or Germany. Those are two places I
Ah.
want to really
Hey,
go.
can I be your date?
Anytime.
Yeah.
I was actually supposed to go to Germany this year. I was going to go to Ralph Nonweller's studio.
Yeah, he's
But,
another
once
badass.
things go, maybe everything is going to be good by then.
I think it'll.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it'll be good. I got a question. So Ralph Nonweiler. So your guys' work, your smooth factor is pretty comparable to Ralph's. Now, do you find you've seen him tattoo before? You guys have done collaborations. I know I want to know the answer to this question, and I'm sure a lot of you guys do too. Do you guys have a similar shading style? Do you think that's?
Yes.
I mean, obviously, you guys have the same respect for patience, but besides that,
He's more patient and precise than I am, actually.
yeah,
He will sit there for like maybe 2 or 3 more hours than I would on a tattoo.
damn.
But yeah, we pretty much have real similar techniques. He does not. I don't want to speak for him, but from what I learned last time I worked with him is he is working with flat shaders, flat magnets, curves.
Interesting.
And I think that's how he's getting a lot of those sharper kind of textures and stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think he uses many curves, but I'm not sure.
Good stuff, man. Well, so yeah, man. You're. Let's talk a little bit about the quarantine you're in. What are some of the stuff you miss most about tattooing right now?
Oh, everything, man. Every single part of tattooing right now. So it's funny because you would think I'm doing something creative on my off time, but no, man. It's like I wake up, I watch restoration videos on YouTube. I help my sons with their schoolwork. Maybe and we do some Legos. Watch more restoration videos on YouTube, and that's pretty much it, man. That's my day.
Hey, man, whatever passes the time. I know that we're all trying to pass this time so that it can appear and become as fast as possible, man. People don't, I think a lot of people that don't tattoo don't realize how magical tattooing is, right? Like, I've painted, I've watercolored, I've stippled. There's nothing like tattooing. Like, tattooing is like, I'm craving that interaction between the person's skin, the smell of their blood, even, right? The smell of their blood mixed with the ink, mixed with the green soap. Like there's something magical about tattooing to the point where, like I myself, like people always assume that I don't really tattoo that often because I'm building machines and stuff, and which is partially true. But I'm tattooing like 2 days a week, and if I don't tattoo like 2 days a week, I start to go crazy. Like it does something to me, right? It's like not seeing your loved one for a couple of weeks. It's something weird about it, man. Is it the same for you?
It is. I get stressed out before any tattoo. So about an hour or two before any tattoo, I have to kind of just completely relax my mind. But it's almost like when I'm tattooing it, I still get kind of a rush from it,
Yeah.
Is it going to be a hit or miss? And not really. I don't really mean that in the sense of is it going to be a hit on Instagram, but am I going to be happy with it afterwards?
Yeah.
And I feel like I love that. That's one thing I do love about me is I have that question within myself: am I really a good tattoo artist, or am I just kind of It's like I'm always trying to push myself to do a better piece than I did last time, and that pressure kind of pushes me.
I've been telling people that for years, David. Like that's like, man, like that's the thing I still say to people this day that ask me questions about tattooing and techniques. I say, look, to this day, every time I do a portrait or every time I do a realistic piece, I'm nervous. I'm scared. And I always tell people, like, if you're not nervous or scared, and if you're just approaching this tattoo like you're going to blow through it and go grab dinner with your lady, like you're going to be a decent tattoo artist at best, but you'll never reach your full potential. And I think that one thing important to talk about is a lot of you guys and girls that are listening right now, like, you will for sure become a better black and gray artist, or you won't. It all depends on if you. I mean, this interview right here is, I'm going to call it gold, man. I wish I was able to listen to this interview 25, 26 years ago, 27 years ago. So like, I really encourage people to listen to what David is saying and listen to what we're talking about, because people don't realize that when you tattoo, I feel like brain surgeons are the same way. I feel like every time a brain surgeon is about to perform surgery and remove a tumor or something from someone's head, brain, I think they're fucking nervous too, right? I think they're tripping too. And so I really want you guys to understand the way you could measure your quality is how nervous you are, man. Stay nervous. It's okay. Allow it. Respect that feeling. Let it become a part of your process. But last time we talked more about your process, David, and I think that was important. So I'll ask you again, just for the people that missed the first interview. And again, if you guys missed the first interview, we apologize. We had some technical difficulties. We're just kind of getting new to the live streaming, but we figured it out. But let's talk about your process. You're like a ritualist, man. You have a ritual for every time you tattoo. First of all, you're only tattooing about 4 days a week, one tattoo a day, right?
Right.
So what's your process? How do you mentally prepare? Because look, I want people to know something about you, David. You're not just pumping these badass tattoos out like a machine. This shit ain't easy for you. What's your preparation process like?
So when I get a photo, of course I have to approve it. If I approve it, then I have to go into the tattoo feeling prepared, but not complacent. I don't want to go into the tattoo feeling 100% confident. I kind of want that. I still want that fear that almost like I can mess up at any moment. But I will study every single piece, almost like it's my last tattoo. I got to make sure I break the entire thing down into shapes. So everything, when I'm looking at a tattoo, it's shapes to me. It's not an actual photo or something.
Yep.
Once I've had that, I'm mentally prepared for that, then it's all just kind of like winding down. So like 2 hours before a tattoo, I listen to music, I watch a movie, just relax it in the chair and just have no distractions, because once I put the needle to the skin, it's
Game time.
it's just 100% concentration. Like nothing goes around me. Nothing's going on around me. So once I'm done with the tattoo, I feel like the world is kind of on pause, or it was on pause while I'm tattooing, and then I get back to it.
Man, like Drew the Ruler chimes in saying, you're only as good as your last tattoo. That's the damn truth, man. Like,
Yeah.
every tattoo, I tell people this all the time, man, like every tattoo should be better than your last, somehow, some way. Either it's got 1% more detail or you did one more stroke on an eyebrow. But man, that's some sound advice from you, man. It's been a while since I was in the tattoo game doing like 2, 3, 4 portraits a week, man. We're talking, this is like 15, 20 years ago when I was primarily doing portraits. But even back then, man, that's what I was doing too. And I think that's kind of I wouldn't want to say it's a forgotten part of the process, but here's what I think. Here's what I think happened. I think that everything got faster in this world. The introduction of technology and Instagram, and now everybody wants shit lightning fast, right? So a lot of these tattoo artists that entered the scene 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years ago, they sort of entered with the mindset and psychology of hurry up and finish this, turn it around, put it on Instagram. But what they're doing is they're shooting themselves in the foot, because if your last tattoo describes who you are as an artist, then that means what people should be doing is, instead of being so quick to put 12 tattoos up on Instagram in a month, they should just put 4 of them up and make sure that those 4 that they put like 2 extra hours into them. But again, man, the process, mentally preparing. I used to do I still do some of the same things you do. I would put classical music on. That was one for me. I would listen to classical music for 15, 20 minutes. I would meditate. There was times when I would go into my studio and I'd turn all the lights off. I'd put a candle on and I'd meditate, and I would try to do this. I looked at it like patience has always been one of my virtues when I tattoo, and it's one of the main things I to this day preach. But I always realize something. Patience has to be matched with where your mind is at. I can't be fighting with my lady. I can't be like, having issues at the shop and then go do a portrait. I had to bring my mind down to the vibration of patience. Like if patience is an actual vibration like love is and like hate is and all that sort of stuff, then that means the vibration that patience resides on, I got to somehow bring my mind and match where that vibration is before I enter a portrait. Because look, man, I'm human, and I'll be the first to say I've done portraits where I feel like I messed up on. I feel like I could have done the eye a little bit better or the nose a little bit better, and maybe the client didn't notice, but I'm pissed. And I'm sitting there like, man, that was a tough day for me. I remember I was stressed out because I had all these certain things going on in my life. So again, that was awesome advice you just gave everyone, man. Prepare your mind, prepare your mind, and get patient before you start to tattoo realistic pieces. Let's get some questions. Let's get some more questions here
I've
for you.
got Renato Loren asking, how is it that you're able to achieve such smooth gradients in your gray shading? How is it the layering? How is it? What's your drop system? Let's start with that.
Yeah.
So I actually don't have a drop system. The set that I use is already pre-mixed.
Okay.
So it's just, the dark or solid black, dark, medium, light, extra light.
Okay.
I will pour an extra cup out and put half water and half of the extra light, just in case I have a lighter tone I need to transition into.
Okay.
But yeah, it's all just real soft layering. And I know a lot of people ask too is they don't see a lot of trauma in the tattoos I do, and that's because I always apply the thin layer of ointment and during every for the strokes, and then always wet wipe, because I see a lot of artists like their wiping is more traumatizing to the skin than the actual needle is.
Yep. I hate getting tattooed like that. It makes me want to get tattooed by you even more. So let's talk. So you put a thin. Okay, so let's talk about that. as a tattoo artist, I'm gonna go a little deeper on there for people that are like, wait, what did he just say? So you're talking about, okay, so you're doing a cheek, right? And you got a 23 mag and you're hitting all your strokes, right? And as soon as your ink runs out, you're saying that you'll wipe it with a wet rag or a damp towel, and then you'll apply another thin layer of ointment before you go again.
Yes, every single time. Yeah.
Militant,
The skin
militant.
always has to be
right?
lubricated. Yeah.
What? Okay. What are you using right now? I know that we've sent you like the pink and the purple and the
I'm
CBD
using
glide.
The purple. Yeah, I'm using the purple glide.
Okay.
Cool. Do you like the way it
Yeah.
smells, David?
I
Do you like the way it
I
smells?
actually love the way the pink glide smells too.
There's a little backstory on the glides. I love the smell of green soap. That sort of always reminded me of a tattoo shop, and I think that goes for a lot of people that understand that part, right? But I always thought that like when you're in the chair getting tattooed, and and you're tattooing someone for long periods, I always felt like a smell would make people feel happy. So that's kind of why we started putting like scents in our glides, like the bubble. I think bubblegum makes me happy. I know Cartoon loves the pink glide, and it smells like candy. It's fun. It's fun to smell.
Real quick, just a little praise for the both of you guys. We got a lot of people out there talking about the advice that you guys are giving. You guys are giving killer advice. We got Brandon Bowman says when he's looking for an artist, he wants a full spectrum artist like the one that you guys, like both of you guys that are talking right now. So you guys are giving out amazing advice, and the people are eating it up out there. So
Hey, I want to chime in on that, dude, and thank you again, David, just for taking the interview and
absolutely,
talking,
man.
And like, look,
Absolutely.
like I think we've talked about this, you and I, before, and it's like we come from this world of like secrecy, right? And so when I first started tattooing, I didn't know how to like blend and make my black and grays. I was doing everything with a single needle. This is 27 years ago, man. I was homemade prison style machine. I was tattooing everybody with black ink. Couldn't figure out how like Freddie Negretti was getting these gray, beautiful pieces, because I would often hang out, in his neighborhood, and before I met him, he was like this elusive tattoo god, and I'd look at his tattoos and I'd look at mine and I'd be like, what the fuck, man? Mine looks like stippling, and his is all creamy, right? And so it wasn't until this is a funny story. Stephen Chrome, owner of Laguna Tattoo, I called up, this is 27 years ago, I called them up and I was like, pretended like I was a student and I was doing a homework project on tattooing. And I full on was like, so yeah, I just got tattooed. Can I do a story on you guys for my school? And so he's like, yeah, no problem. So I go, yeah. So I'm sneaking in some questions, and then all of a sudden I'm like, boom, yeah. So how did you guys get it so gray? Like, what did you guys do to get the ink so gray? I'll never forget what that guy said. I don't know who picked up the phone that day, but they're like, oh, sure, that's easy. We just add water to the black ink. Like watercolor. And I played it off, but I mean, look, man, I got the biggest boner. It was like at least 15 inches, and it's not even that big. But I was so fucking happy. I think I just hung up the phone, and I remember like the next tattoo I did, I didn't even know what the fuck I was doing. I just had a cup of water and black ink, and I just remember experimenting with that. And I remember like I was so happy to have discovered that. All my portraits got better. All my lettering got better. It was almost like discovering a whole new world. And the reason why I'm telling this story is because you and I had this discussion where it's like, we're not afraid to give knowledge out, right? And my reasoning, I feel like I have a good reason for it. And it's that if I teach someone how to do a technique, it doesn't mean they're going to be able to fucking do it. They still have to put in the hours and hours and hours of practice. They still have to. It's like, like right now, the people that are listening, right? Like, it's not like we're giving away freebies, and I'll tell you why, because they still have to perform the work. They still have to put into practice what they're saying. So I look at it like this. If I give someone a tip and they go on their own and they put the blood, sweat, and tears for hours and hours and they actually pull it off, well, they earned it. So just because just because we're giving tips away, it doesn't mean that it's not like planting seeds on a grassy field and it's just going to grow. They have to go and do all the work, man. So how do you feel?
You can give somebody a good script doesn't mean it's going to be a good movie.
Exactly.
There's a lot more that goes to it.
Exactly. And so I appreciate that part of you, man, because, and I know a lot of people that are chiming in right now are really appreciating some of the gold nuggets that you're dropping on them. Let me hit. Go ahead.
I got a question. Actually, this pertains to the both of you. With the evolution of technology and tattooing, do you still prefer to do your stencils in hand, or do you do it with the iPad?
I still do it. I do it with the iPad. I just switched up to the iPad probably about 4 years ago. But I was doing everything by hand. The reason I like the iPad is because I can print it out and adjust the size once they show up, because I have a lot of people flying in. So I don't like to spend too much time preparing for the tattoo when they just get there. I like to have everything ready when they get there.
I'm still trying to get used to the iPad. Like, I know what you mean. I really want that for myself. I'm so stuck. I'm so stuck on hand stenciling. But I think that, like, tell me what your opinion is. I think that for anyone listening that kind of maybe just started doing portraits, right, and they started doing stencils on an iPad, I would tell them for the next couple portraits, do them by hand. Because I always,
by hand, yes.
I always found that there was some kind of sacred, special connection that would happen. It was almost like,
sure. I think,
yeah,
doing it by hand definitely is. It's almost like using a coil before a rotary.
yeah,
Like, if you can learn, if you can appreciate that part, it's just going to make you a better artist overall.
yeah, yeah.
I actually love the way hand stencils look way more than the iPad. You can get so much different lines and everything on it. With the iPad, it's pretty much it's a lot more flat. But I just do it with the iPad for convenience.
Yeah. No, you know what? But you've earned it, though. You can do it. You can do it by hand. For you, it's a matter of what's easiest, and I think that's really what it is. Is if you guys are using an iPad, cool. It's not like you're in trouble or it's not supposed to be. Again, we're artists. There's no rules to art. It just depends on how good you want to be. And I always say, like, get acquainted, get intimate. There's a level of intimacy that hand stenciling offers over iPad stenciling. And I think that once you've gained that intimacy and that respect for it, then it's like, yeah, transfer to the iPad and learn. Let me ask you this. What's one of the most, I know that all tattoo artists, we're always on Instagram looking at people's work, whether they're really good or really bad or in between. What do you think some of the most common mistakes black and gray realistic tattoo artists are making? When you're looking at Instagram and seeing what's out there, what do you think it is?
I think it's the background.
Okay.
I think a lot of black and gray artists will focus on, I guess as far as a portrait, they focus on making the eyes, nose, mouth perfect. And then once you get to the hair or the background, it's like, it looks like a completely different tattoo almost.
Yeah.
It's like they'll spend 3/4 of the tattoo doing the eyes, nose, and mouth, and then the other 1/4 is just like trying to get their hair done, but it's not as fun.
Yeah, you're hitting on a topic that I have outlined and circled on my thing. It says hair. See that?
Yeah.
So I've always said this is like, that's probably one of my pet peeves when I see a portrait. The reason why it's a pet peeve is because I care. Like, I want people to become better.
Right.
That's why I got into the business of making tattoo supplies and even teaching. I was one of the first people that dropped a DVD and got shit on by all my peers that were like, why are you freaking dropping a DVD and blah, blah, blah. And then like 3-4 years later, they all dropped the DVD. You know what I mean? So it's like, I've always loved teaching. I've always loved giving because I was that dude that nobody wanted to help growing up. It was always practice and trial and error and I could have been better faster, right? But hair, that's the thing that drives me freaking crazy. Is I never slacked off on the hair, so I can talk about it. When I would do a portrait, I would treat the nose like its own portrait. I would treat each eye socket like its own thing. When it came to the hair, I had this thing where I would kind of like, I would either do the hair first or last. It all depends on what mood I was in. But the reason why I did that is because I wanted to put all my concentration into the hair. Because yes, it's boring. It's like doing leg day at the gym. I'd rather do chest or biceps. Fucking leg day sucks. Hair's not fun, but you could make it fun by getting really good at it. And then it becomes fun because you're like,
Yeah.
fuck, this is crazy looking. But that's the most common mistake I see is people doing badass portraits, and when it comes down to the hair, it's like 3 shades. It's like dark over here, light over here, and then they get a couple of lines. But if we were to treat, if black and gray artists, all you guys listening that are doing this and that are guilty of it, and if you think you might be one of those people, I want you to look at David Vega's last hair tattoo he did, and I want you to look at your own. And if you're one of those people, man, I challenge you guys to treat the hair like its own portrait. The whole thing. Talk a little bit about how you approach hair and that sort of thing.
Yeah, so actually, what I'm doing is any part of the tattoo, say it's a nose or the mouth, I don't treat it like a nose or a mouth or hair or an ear or, everything to me, like I said earlier, I break everything down in shapes. Everything is a shape to me. So I have to kind of replicate the shape that I broke up this tattoo into and kind of transition this dark shade to this light shade. I mean, I'm simplifying it. The way I'm describing it, I'm simplifying it. It's more complicated than that, but everything is a shape to me. So I'm not looking at it as a nose. I'm looking at it as maybe 20 different shapes that I broke down. So, like, I'll have the face is one big shape. The nose is there's separate different shapes inside of it, and that's pretty much how I treat every single part of it.
Does that help you?
Especially hair.
Does that help you give the level of detail that each part deserves? I mean, I like sometimes when I'm working out, like I'll do that with my workouts. I'll compartmentalize it just so I can focus on push-ups until it's done, and then I'll be done. Then I'll do like upper chest. Is it the same with that? Is that why you do that?
Yeah. So if you focus too much on the nose, looking at the nose, you can overwork it. You can easily overwork that nose, or it won't match up with the shades of the side of the cheek or something. A good way to do it too is practice doing your stencil upside down. If you do your stencil upside down, you're breaking everything up into a shape, and you're not focusing so much on it being a nose or something.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't know that trick about turn. I just told James earlier to do that. This is where's your shit at, James?
Oh, it's over here.
We're gonna
Drawing from the right side of the brain. That's the classic 101.
Yeah, Drawing from the Right Side of the Brain is a great book. It describes that technique.
That's the thing, tattooing from the right side of the brain, the same thing.
Yeah, a lot of people so if you guys are struggling with your portraits out there, man, look at James getting down over here.
That's awesome.
James Brown, but I told him to finish this piece upside down, and what that does, like you said, is it makes people see the shape. I remember Noah taught me this too, because when I was learning how to airbrush, Noah was teaching me portraits at the same time, and so big shout out to my brother Noah Fine Art. But he would always say don't ever do your version of the nose, don't ever do your version of an eye, and so back to pet peeves and stuff when I see tattoo artists. And to me, what a pet peeve is, David, is when they almost fucking nailed it. It's like, damn, dude, you have the talent. You got the talent. You were almost there. And what happens is, I remember, this is something important to talk about. So this is something that Noah taught me. He says, when you're doing a portrait tattoo or airbrush, glance at the image like every 10 seconds. He's like, the more you glance at the image, the more realistic it'll become. He goes, because what happens is, the opposite is, say I don't glance at my reference for like 20 seconds. What he was saying is, I'll start to do my own interpretation of the eyelashes or the nostril, right? Mm-hmm. And so glancing at your reference often sort of prevents you from doing that, because I see a lot of people doing their version of a nostril, and it's not like the picture. Exactly. Talk about that for a minute. How often do you glance at your references?
So that's pretty much the exact same thing as focusing on something being a nose or an eye or an ear. You start to interpret it how you see an ear, or how you see a nose, or how you see an eye. But if you focus on the shape that you're seeing instead of it being a nose or whatever it is, then you'll copy that shape more than you will an actual what you perceive an eye or a nose to be.
Yeah.
A lot of times when you start doing that, it becomes a really flat image also.
Yep.
But yeah, looking back and forth at a photo is perfect also. A good thing to do too is when you're doing a tattoo, like every 2 hours, stop tattooing, take a break, stand back, look at the photo right next to the client, but stand back about, I would say, halfway across the room or something to see how that looks from afar. Because a lot of times when you're looking at something so close and focusing on all the details and everything, you're overdoing a lot, and you're not going to see that.
That's true. That's true. That's good advice right there. That's a good one right there. I know that works for me, man. Sometimes I'll have to like leave the room, walk around. I do this thing. I call it clearing my palate. Is I want to like leave the room, forget how it looks, and then come back fresh, like I'm a fresh pair of eyes. You know what I mean? Sometimes I'll even just look at it really fast, and so that's a really good piece. Thanks for sharing that one, man. What about? Let's talk a little bit about your influences in black and gray, or even tattooing in general. Who are some of the people that you've learned from, influenced from, and your favorites for today from today?
I think my very first influence was probably Mr. Cartoon. His stuff I was trying to, before I even tattooed, I was trying to copy a lot of his stuff. Bob Tyrell, he was a big one. He was the one that actually got me interested in doing portraits. And then now I think my biggest influence is probably Ralph Nonweiler. I think I see his stuff and it's like, it's wow.
Yeah. That guy, that Abe Lincoln.
You know.
Yeah, he's a wild man. Yeah, really good stuff. That's good. And now these guys are looking up to you. I know I am. I've when I tattoo James now, it's funny because like
literally you have re-influenced him. You've gotten him excited again.
This is a funny story, man. Like I've been tatting for 27 years, and there's times where I forget shit that I've done. There's times that, like, I was doing smooth, silky tattoos a long time ago. Then I started doing them a little bit rougher, and then I went back to smooth, right? And so like when I saw you tattooing that day here for the seminar, like it was weird because I'm like, fuck, I know better. Like that's how I used to do it. And so like you actually reminded me of what I know works that's on par with patience. And James will tell you, man, like every time I'm doing the David Vega.
Yeah, dude, literally I'm going in David Vega style.
Yeah.
Yeah. Too is I've actually seen some people tattooing, and I see them start off like the first 20, 30 minutes of the tattoo, like tattooing how I would tattoo it. And then something kind of just switches, and they start getting faster.
Their patience.
And then faster, and then faster. And I think it's a lot to do with patience, but I think your mind has to kind of be
in sync.
Like,
in sync.
To stay in one position, you know.
That's true, man.
Switching on and off, it's going to show.
Okay, so I think this is something that would be good to talk about, is because I've noticed that with myself, and I think that's a common thing. I think that what I tell people when that happens, even myself, I tell myself this is, train your mind, you guys, you girls out there, train your mind to know when you're fucking up. I mean, there's no other way to put it. They're fucking up when they do that, right? Train your mind to know when you're doing that shit. It's like not cussing in front of the kids, right? Maybe do a swear jar, but train your mind to know when you're doing that stuff. And then when you are losing patience, take your gloves off, go stretch, go breathe, whatever you got to do. It's almost like pushing the reset button. What's cool about you, David, though, is like you're in mode. Like you just know these truths, and that you just apply them throughout the whole tattoo. But you're still fighting. I mean, wouldn't it be fair to say that there's moments where you feel like rushing a piece, but then you instantly remind yourself that that's not going to happen?
Yes.
So you almost have to govern yourself, right? You almost have to be your own security guard. And I think that's what people got to realize is it's like they say, all the power is really in yourselves' mind. It's in your mind, it's in your hands. Like people have the power, they have the capability, they have I mean, look, to do a good tattoo, it takes more patience than artistic ability, right?
Right. I think with what I do, there's really not much artistic ability with what I do personally. I think it's more technical.
Yeah, and
I think there's artistic ability, but I think for the most part it's all technical. I think the artistic ability is more in the design.
Yeah, AB Alvarez, good friend of ours,
AB.
3 foot radius tattoo. AB's been a long time supporter of Inkies. Man, he was using some of the first stuff out there with Sean. AB wants to know. AB's a dope artist too, so I love seeing dope artists ask dope artists questions because you could. I mean, look. I mean, anyone can learn, right? He wants to know how long a portrait takes you to do generally. So before we answer that question, give us an idea of the size before you tell us how long it takes.
So the size, I would say about, say a portrait on the forearm about 5.5 by 3 or 4 inches.
Okay.
It's going to take about 9 hours.
Okay.
9 hours, AB.
That's just a portrait with it's a portrait with hair like yours or James.
Hey, you know what? Truth.
With long hair, curly hair, all the small details going to affect the amount of time.
I remember.
And I think hair really plays a big factor in how long it's going to take because that takes a really long time to get down right.
Yes, yes. And man, these are some good questions that people are asking, and you're giving some good answers. Really good stuff. Let me see. Okay, this is a. We'll let one more question go before we kind of wrap it up. Renato Lorenco artist wants to know what depth do you like to go with in terms of like. I think they're asking in the skin. Like how deep do you go? How much is it protruding out of the barrel?
Protruding needle. I change it every once in a while, but it's around 3 to 4 millimeters.
Okay, good. Yeah, someone's asking if this will be reposted. All these interviews will be up for 24 hours. Then they go on our.
We'll have it up on our IGTV.
IGTV. Let's go ahead and wind it down, man. Again, thank you for just taking the time to do this, man. Like, you're really helping out a lot of artists. I mean, in fact, if you guys even like practice, 10% of what David's talking about, and you really do, man, you're just from watching this interview, you could be better on your next tattoo. Take it serious, man. This is just because it's for free doesn't mean it's not valuable. Like I always tell people in business, people always ask me like, what about this and what about that? I always tell people this. I say, hey, you know Gary V? I tell people, Gary V? I know you fucking do because he's everywhere. I was like, that dude gives away the most awesome free business advice you can get your hands on. I know it's true because I've practiced it and I've seen it happen. So, again, this interview that you're given, this info you're given, man.
We'll just have to save all the rest of the info for your next seminar.
Yeah, this is.
What do you say to that one?
This is a tease. You guys got tease. Somebody wants to know when your next seminar is and how much are they. Let's answer that question real quick. What do you charge? You're charging. What's your fee for the seminar?
Right now, I don't have any seminars set up.
Okay, yeah, we'll get into that late. We'll get into that later, just because the time's coming up. I don't. If we don't save this under an hour, it doesn't.
We just want to make sure we save this time, my brother. So
Yes.
hey, David, Franco, go ahead.
Yeah. So real quick, what kind of advice can you give our dear artists from all around the world that are losing hope, that are stressed out, that are depressed? I mean, we're artists, man. We're a bunch of fucked up people as it is. We're emotional. We're creatives. So just because the next guy's confident and happy doesn't mean the next person is. What can we say to give a message of hope during this weird ass time of not being able to tattoo? What can you say to make them happy, David?
Yeah, I know like times are rough right now, but I think this is a perfect time to be with family.
Yep.
And tap into your creative side, if hone in on your skills, focus on being the best you can, like person outside of tattooing, like we're so focused on tattooing all the time. It's a good time to kind of focus on, yourself right now and adapt that into tattooing however you can.
Yeah, man. It's just to recap on what you're saying, man, this is a tough time. I've been through 9/11. I've been through 2008, man, and that wasn't good if you were a shop owner back then or a business owner. I mean, we started Bishop in 2008. It was a rough start, man. So I just want to reiterate what you're saying is like, You guys, look, man, at the end of the day, this is a time that could make you stronger as a human being, as a father, as a husband, as a tattoo artist. Don't let this get to you, get to it. Like, don't treat this as an issue that's going to fuck your life up. Treat it as, there's not a lot of times in this world, in this society, where fucked up shit happens. And I've had a lot of fucked up shit happen to me. I went through lung cancer. My shop burnt down. I was sleeping on my cousin's couch. You know, I've had some things, right? And all those times made me stronger because I didn't give up. So don't give up, you guys. There's a silver lining on the side of every dark cloud.
And what's
I'm
beautiful,
pass to James.
what's beautiful about that is that's why we're out here doing these live IG quarantine conversations with our artists, because we want to bring a little bit of sense of normalcy back to everybody's life out there, man. So David, thank you again, brother, for your time, man. Can't tell you how grateful we are for this conversation, but more importantly, your friendship, my man.
Yes, definitely.
Absolutely.
Brother.
All right, guys. Well, tune in for next week. We will be making an announcement on who's going to be next on the Quarantine Conversations.
Yes.
But until then, David, have a beautiful one. And remember, if nobody loves you, Bishop's got you.
He's not lying.
And
Love
we
you,
out.
David.
Love
You're
you,
the
bud.
man.
Thank you, guys.
Take